In 1961, a single Soviet cosmonaut orbiting Earth forced America to risk everything on an impossible lunar gamble. Today, China has done something that triggered an even more desperate response from NASA, one they're not telling you about. While you've been watching SpaceX test starships in Texas, Beijing has been systematically checking off milestones toward a 2030 permanent moon base that would give them first claim to lunar resources worth $500 trillion. That's not a typo. 500 trillion. Enough wealth to fund 1,000 Mars colonies or build a space elevator to orbit. And buried in classified briefings that my sources have seen, one date keeps appearing like a drumbeat of panic. 2026. January 2024 should have been just another routine space mission. China's Chang'e 7 probe descended toward the lunar South Pole, its ground-penetrating radar humming quietly as it scanned beneath the ancient regolith. What it found sent shockwaves through every space agency on Earth. Water ice. Not traces, not hints. Massive sheets of frozen water, 40 meters thick, 10 times larger than our most optimistic estimates. Imagine every swimming pool in America, frozen solid and buried under lunar dust. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's what Chang'e 7 discovered in a single crater. But here's what made Pentagon officials lose sleep. On March 15, 2024, Chinese state media didn't just announce their discovery. They broadcast HD footage of their rover, planting a flag at Shackleton Crater, the exact site NASA had selected for Artemis Base Camp. The message was crystal clear. We got here first. Think about what water means on the moon. It's not just drinking water for astronauts playing golf. 1 ton of lunar water becomes 800 kilograms of oxygen and 200 kilograms of hydrogen. Oxygen to breathe. Hydrogen for rocket fuel. The moon had just transformed from a destination into a gas station, and China had claimed the pumps. Within 48 hours of that broadcast, leaked Pentagon documents, first reported by the Washington Post, revealed emergency meetings between NASA, SpaceX, and the National Security Council. Admiral Charles Richard, head of U.S. Strategic Command, didn't mince words. We are not just behind, we are at a strategic disadvantage if we do not act immediately. SpaceX's response was swift and dramatic. The Starship program, lovingly crafted for Mars over the past decade, pivoted overnight. Engineers who'd spent years designing life support for the 9-month journey to Mars suddenly found themselves calculating lunar trajectories. The red planet would have to wait. The moon had become an emergency. But China's next move would force SpaceX to attempt something even their own engineers called impossible. June 2024. While the world watched the Paris Olympics, China quietly tested something that made NASA's hair stand on end. A nuclear-powered cargo transport system designed for lunar surface operations. Not in a lab, not in simulation. On the ground, ready for space. The classified response came within days. The Daedalus Directive. NASA's order to SpaceX was brutally simple. Achieve lunar landing capability by the 4th quarter of 2026. Not 2028, not 2027, 24 months from directive to touchdown. For context, it took NASA 8 years to go from Kennedy's speech to Armstrong's footprint. SpaceX had 2. Elon Musk's internal email to his team, leaked in September 2024, captured the desperation. Raptor production must reach 1 per day, or we lose the moon. This is not a metaphor. Work like the future of American space exploration depends on it, because it does. Dr. Sarah Lin, former SpaceX propulsion engineer, later told Aerospace America, "The timeline felt like being asked to invent the airplane while already falling off a cliff. We redesigned systems overnight that normally take years to perfect." Picture the challenge. Starship wasn't just one rocket. It was a ballet of orbital mechanics never before attempted. To reach the moon, one Starship would need to be refueled by 8 to 12 other Starships in Earth orbit. Imagine trying to refuel your car while both you and the gas station are falling around Earth at 17,500 miles per hour. Now do it a dozen times, in the dark, with cryogenic fuel that boils away if you take too long. The modifications came fast and desperate. Landing legs that could handle lunar regolith. Moon dust so fine it acts like liquid, and so sharp it cuts through spacesuits. An elevator system to lower astronauts 50 feet from the crew cabin to the surface. Solar panels that could survive 14-day lunar nights, where temperatures drop to minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit. By early 2025, SpaceX engineers were working 18-hour shifts. Jane Thompson, lead propulsion engineer, later shared in a TED Talk, "There were nights I slept under my desk. We all did. Because somewhere in China, we knew their engineers were doing the same thing." And then, in a move straight from the Cold War playbook, both nations started testing capabilities that had nothing to do with science. September 2024. China launches what they call a Lunar Communications Relay Satellite. But Pentagon analysts studying the telemetry noticed something odd. The power signature was wrong. The orbit was wrong. This wasn't just a communications satellite. It was dual-use military hardware capable of electronic warfare and surveillance from cislunar space. Here's what keeps military strategists awake. The moon is the ultimate high ground. From the lunar surface, you can see every satellite around Earth, every launch, every military movement in space. And thanks to a loophole in the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, you can't claim the moon, but you can claim your safety zone around your base. First one there gets to draw the lines. SpaceX's classified launches suddenly spiked 400% after China's announcement. These weren't Starlink satellites. Anonymous SpaceX engineers later revealed, "We're not just launching satellites anymore. We're preparing for a scenario where space is the next battlefield." The parallels to the Cold War are impossible to ignore. In 1959, the Soviet Lunar program claimed it was mapping the moon for science. Declassified documents revealed they were actually searching for missile-based locations. Today, U.S. intelligence discovered China has been manufacturing landing pad materials from simulated moon dust at 10 times the rate needed for a research station. Either they're terrible at math, or they're planning something much bigger than a science outpost. Dr. Linda Zheng, former NASA strategist, put it bluntly in a 2026 interview. "Whoever controls the moon controls Earth's orbit, and whoever controls Earth's orbit controls Earth." The new space race isn't about planting flags, it's about planting bases, permanent ones, with keep-out zones measured in kilometers. Imagine this. China establishes their base first and declares a 100-kilometer safety zone. Suddenly, the best ice deposits, the best peaks for solar power, the best crater rims for Earth communication, they're all off limits to everyone else. Forever. But the real deadline isn't 2030. It's a specific date in 2026 that both space programs are racing toward. December 3rd to December 21st, 2026. Mark those dates. For exactly 18 days, Earth and the Moon align in a celestial configuration that won't repeat for another 18 months. This is the window. Miss it, and you're watching your rival's flag fly over lunar ice fields for at least another year and a half. Both programs know this. Both have circled these dates in red. China's Mengzhou crew vehicle completed final tests in November. 3 taikonauts are trained and ready. Their Long March 9 rocket, taller than the Statue of Liberty and twice as powerful as anything China has ever built, sits fueled on the pad. SpaceX? They're contemplating something that makes their previous risks look conservative, launching crew on only the 3rd Starship lunar attempt, not the 10th, not the 5th, the 3rd. Internal SpaceX documents reveal the terrifying math. Probability of mission success, 67%. Probability of crew survival if something goes wrong, 94%. Those 7 percentage points between success and survival, that's where heroes or martyrs are made. For perspective, NASA waited until Apollo 11, the 11th mission, to attempt a lunar landing. Apollo 8, which merely orbited the moon, was considered insanely risky at the time. SpaceX is essentially proposing to do Apollo 8 and Apollo 11 simultaneously, with a spacecraft that's had 2 successful lunar missions. Total. SpaceX engineer Sofia Rodriguez, in a rare moment of candor, told reporters on December 1st, "Every waking moment is troubleshooting, testing, retesting. We're not just racing China, we're racing physics itself." The Chinese aren't playing it much safer. Their December 15th launch window gives them just one shot, one rocket, 3 taikonauts. If anything goes wrong, a sensor fails, an engine misfires, a navigation computer glitches, they wait 18 months while America plants its flag. The ghost of Apollo 8 haunts both programs. In December 1968, NASA made a desperate gamble to beat the Soviets by sending humans around the moon on just the second manned Apollo flight. It worked, barely. Now, 58 years later, both superpowers are making the same desperate bet. Except this time, the stakes aren't just national pride. They're the economic future of the solar system. We've gone from seeing space as humanity's shared frontier to watching it become the ultimate high ground in a new Cold War. The moon's ice reserves aren't just water, they're the keys to the solar system. Every Mars mission, every asteroid mining operation, every space colony for the next 1,000 years will need that lunar fuel. And in just a matter of weeks, we'll know who holds those keys. In 1969, we went to the moon to prove we could. In 2026, we're going back because we must. Because whoever plants their flag in those lunar ice fields won't just win a race. They'll own the gas station for every human who ever dreams of venturing deeper into the cosmos. The transformation is complete. Space is no longer about all of us. It's about us versus them. And the ghost of Apollo hasn't returned to unite us. It's returned to divide us among the stars. Do you think SpaceX can pull off the impossible and beat China to the moon by 2026? Or are we watching America lose its final claim to space supremacy? Let me know in the comments, and tell me which classified space program development you want me to investigate next. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the new space race, hit subscribe for more stories where history, technology, and human ambition collide. Thanks for watching.